I'm Joni De Winter.
And I am Susan Grant.
And we are part of Bell Street,
who are an events band and theatre company.
And we are here talking to you about our fun and failures.
Our journey from being scared, but doing it anyway.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, today is a very exciting episode because we're actually going to bring someone else in.
Yes.
We thought we talked enough.
Yes. You can hear someone else's voice, not just ours, for this week.
And the theme of our podcast at the minute seems to be jumping in, going ahead,
giving it a go.
Yeah. And so we began to think, who can we talk to about that, who we've seen around us and who we find inspiring, and not just people who are in the arts sector.
Yes. And we didn't really have to think very hard when we were thinking about who we could talk to about different journeys and creative processes. And so there's a few people that we have been very lucky to interview. Today, we have an interview with Alice Perry.
We're so excited about this interview for you to hear it. We think you'll really enjoy it. We certainly enjoyed talking to her about some of the steps she's been taking and her mindset around just getting on with it and doing it. So we hope you enjoy it.
Here we go. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. So today we are talking to Alice.
Wine Shop Alice.
Wine Shop Alice, who is a good friend of ours and has kindly said she will come and have a chat with us on our podcast. And she's called Wine Shop Alice because she works at a wine shop.
Clues in the name.
She just hangs out there. But we can go.
You're like a feral person who just hangs in the doorway of a wine shop.
Okay, it's
That's
a job.
us.
Yeah, that's us. We hang out in the doorway of your wine shop. And it's from the wine shop where we purchase all our rehearsal wine.
Shaftesbury Wines, 57 High Street, long established, independent, local wine merchant. Boom, got the advertising in.
Excellent. Well done. It's not sponsored by Shaftesbury Wines yet.
No. All in good time.
But that's not why we're talking to you today.
Oh, is it not? Am I not?
No.
Am I not Wine
We're
Shop
not
Alice
trying to-
today? Who
we're
am
not
I
trying
today?
to get a deal from you today.
All the prosecco you need. Right, who am I today? Let's find out.
Well, let's start with, recently, you have become a model.
I have, which is a surprise even to me, and like a testament to the fact that A, they'll just let anybody do it these days. B, a thing that I was told by a very wise photographer and didn't believe at the time was that a difference between a model and a non-model is just that the model believes they can do it, and the person in the street thinks, I'm not a model. Turns out if you say you are, then you are. Which is quite a good thing to live by, really, isn't it? That if you do something, then that makes you be it. And I've sort of got over this thing of saying, oh, but I'm not a proper model. Oh, yeah, but no, go and get a proper one. Because it turns out there are no proper ones. Like, there's no real adults.
So what was your, go back to the first seedling of the idea and how you went from the thought to the first step, maybe.
So it was quite a well-formed idea. So I was involved in a charity calendar, which I talked about on This Is Alfred, and Kerry was quite kind of pleasantly positive about.
This Is Alfred is Shaftesbury's local radio station.
Excellent local radio, long live independent broadcasting. So I was involved in a charity calendar for which I took my clothes off. Imagine calendar girls, we're going to need significantly bigger buns for a few reasons, really. So it supported pancreatic cancer charity, which was very close to my heart. The theme was around ladies who do kind of hunting, shooting, fishing, and them being sort of real women. I don't love this idea of real women as if some women are unreal, but that it was kind of, various body types and, kind of not super photoshopped. That opportunity came up and I thought, yeah, that seems a good thing to do. I wasn't sort of nervous about it, or like some ladies come to it like horrendously nervous, or it's a very big deal for them. I really enjoyed it, and it wasn't a massively big deal for me, and I thought, oh, that's quite fun. Yeah, that was a nice experience. Okay, fine. And the photographer who organises that sort of project very sort of kindly says, I presume and think I'm right in saying to everyone who's involved, oh, I'd love to shoot you again, you know, just you were nice, you did well. And most of them probably say, oh, okay, but I'm not a model. And did that and thought, that was nice, that was fun, that kind of seemed to go well. Wouldn't mind doing a bit more of that. And it sort of accidentally spiralled from there.
What was your first solo thing? The
first thing I did that wasn't the calendar, if I say like boudoir, it wasn't really. It was, you know, last summer when it was really, 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 really hot, like unseasonably hot, I thought, oh, it's a really good idea to get into like a corset for this. That'll really go well with the weather.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, you know, what do I think I'll look kind of fierce and cool in? Oh, some like nice drapey fabric, kind of nice soft sort of bodyscapes. It probably seems important to say it's not obligatory that I take my clothes off, but I don't really have any hang-ups around it. And I think like part of the reason I want to do this doesn't obviously come over on the radio, but I'm a very non-typical model. I'm kind of not young and slim and beautiful, and sometimes where you have kind of plus size and inverted commas models, they get sort of stereotyped into doing flattering or just doing one type of modelling, or they get sort of stereotyped into, you know, you sort of lie on your front on a bed and you look all sort of polished and stuff. And I've never really wanted to just do that. You know, there's a whole like world of model photography genres out there, and there is no reason that the plus size model has to always be this kind of soft, fluffy, flattering thing. So that was quite important to me. So to do, you know, the poses that you kind of see a straight size or like a kind of skinny normal model doing, and show that like all sorts of bodies can do this stuff, and there's no reason that you're limited to just doing one type of thing. That's what I kind of like to do more of.
Talk to you about is imposter syndrome, which we have touched on a whole other podcast. I just wondered whether you felt this at all, that thing of, gosh, I can't charge for this, or is this really me doing this, and whether it's something that you felt and how you've dealt with it.
Definitely. Everyone goes through that process for sure. And like my photographer friend, who was, you know, the original photographer, said, oh, well, do you think you want to, you know, do you think you want to work with some other photographers? Oh no, I'll never be ready for that. No, nobody else could want to work with me. And then I did work with another photographer and a makeup artist, and they said, oh, what's your Purple Port link, which is kind of like a common portfolio site. And I said, I've not got one of them. Mm-hmm. I'm not a model. Mm-hmm. And they thought that was really strange. Mm-hmm. And they said, oh, but how do we give you your reference? How do we do all the, you know, how do we do all this sort of professional stuff for you? Oh no, I can't make a portfolio. And then I did. I said, oh, no one's going to contact me. And then they did.
Yeah.
Oh, no one good's going to contact me. You know, they'll all be, you know, I won't like any of their work. And then they did, and they were good. Oh, no one's going to want to pay me for this. They did. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, but no brands would ever want to work with me. They did. Oh, no brands that I wear or like would want to work with me. They did. And it's strange when you look back, even relatively recently, where I say, oh yeah, but that wouldn't happen for me. Oh yeah, but people will only want to shoot me in sort of, you know, glamour, or people will only want to, you know, people won't want to do fine art with a kind of plus size model. They want to do that with a beautiful model. Oh no, but some people actually think the same as me, and and they want to do fine art with the kind of unconventional bodies. That's quite interesting. Everybody gets imposter syndrome, but I think coming into it at 36 rather than coming into it in my 20s, coming into it thinking, oh, this is like a nice creative hobby. I don't want anything from it. I don't want it as a career. You have different expectations than if you are 22 and a size 8 and everyone's always said, why don't you try modelling, and you're going all out for it. Like you're a lot of your sort of self-worth then becomes tied up in it, and I think it's really important not to get too down that road, not to get too kind of, oh, I only got 20 Instagram likes, oh, I applied for a casting and I didn't get it. Like, you know, for as long as it's supposed to be your fun creative hobby, kind of make sure that it is.
And it's a different confidence when you get older as well. We've found that having a little bit of a confidence of actually you care less maybe about what other people think, and you have a little bit more confidence about yourself to take that step.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I feel much more self-conscious about, I mean, do people think I'm a wally as a person? You know, did I get that social interaction right? You know, did I come across strange? If they think, oh, well, she's got stretch marks, or her thighs are fat, or, you know, she's got a weird chin or something, like, who cares? I'm not going to lose sleep over that. Genuinely, who cares? Yeah, you do get that from coming to it older, but you have to work at it. Like, I've put a lot of work into, you know, curating what I see on social media, and really like unsubscribing from that diet culture, and, you know, really sort of making sure that what I see is stuff that I find positive, or stuff that I think that's interesting, that's inspiring, that's like really cool, like good for them. I don't look at, you know, a size 8 young model doing some beautiful work and think, oh, that's not me, oh, like I should give up, that's awful. I think, well, that's an apple and I'm a pear, that's a banana and I'm a grapefruit, you know, that you don't kind of compare lunch and dinner.
What are you, dinner? Dessert?
I don't know, really. Yeah, dessert.
We like to think of ourselves as dessert.
We always say we go well with dessert.
But I think this is the thing I don't like about this, oh, real women, or, you know, real women have curves and real women do this, that or the other. Well, everyone's a real woman. There's no better or worse about it. There's just different about it. And it's just, everyone's got a body, haven't they?
What do you think, like, 20-year-old you would say?
That's a really good question, actually. So 20-year-old me was quite strange. Didn't have a lot of sort of body confidence, didn't, just kind of thought that everything would pass them by, or that everything was not for them. I kind of had this idea that everything I wanted to do, or wanted to be, or was interested in, oh yeah, but that's not in the UK. That's not for you. That world is out there, but there's no way for you to get to it. And so I think, like, 36-year-old me is very annoyed that 20-year-old me wasted so much time worrying about stupid things that didn't matter. I look back and, you know, at the time you always think you're kind of hideous and think all sorts of bad things about yourself, and then you look back and you think, God, you're never going to look that good again. Like, you wasted that while you had it. What's that thing people say, that youth's wasted on the young? Yeah, 20-year-old me was sort of quite intellectually confident, but not at all confident with my appearance, which is ridiculous looking back. But you sort of grow up, don't you?
Try to. Do you try to?
That's a great question, though. But I mean, there's no shortcuts to it, is there? I don't think there's, like, if there's 20-year-olds out there who are, you know, very happy with their bodies and kind of don't pick fault, like, I hope there are. I hope that where we are now, like, I was 20 in 2007, and that was a strange time. That was a weird place for the world, you know, what was kind of fashionable in bodies, and people hadn't really sort of done the work. There wasn't this idea of fat acceptance, or there wasn't an idea of, you know, probably people didn't think about mental health in the same way. The internet existed and social media existed a bit, but kind of the apps didn't exist, so there's like two sides to that, really, isn't there? But it was, yeah, the world was quite a different place, for better or for worse.
But do you see what you're doing with your modelling now? Do you see that as something you want to go into as more full time?
No, not at all. No, not at all. Like, I've always been sort of frustrated with creativity, that I've never really had like a creative hobby, but I've always kind of hung around with creatives, like you people, and lots of, like, Shaftesbury's very, very creative, and it's been lovely to kind of find an outlet in this way. Modelling as a career is a non-starter for most people. It's the people that do it, like, good luck to them, but I'm not commercial enough, and I don't want to have to think, oh, have I got bookings? Have I, is this happening? Is that happening? Like, I know my niche.
And it's nice to have something for yourself, your own thing as well.
Yeah, completely. And I don't want to monetize things that I enjoy in that way. If someone will pay for my fuel or whatever, but the only thing I want out of it is meeting nice creative people who are of the same mind as me, who want to do something cool. Like, occasionally I pick my own camera up and take some sometimes half decent photos of models, and like, that'll do for me. I don't think, unless you go more down the kind of sex work road, or you go, which is, completely fine, and a lot of people who I know do that, that's probably where the money side of things is, unless you have a very striking look and you're very good at marketing yourself. And I'm just not sort of I'm not motivated enough to go in that direction.
Although you do have a very striking look.
Thank you, friend. I mean, a photographer said to me the other day, which was a great compliment, that I did grotesque very well. But this is what I mean about not wanting to do all those sort of sort of pretty pin-up, that pigeonholed thing, which, no shade on people, people love doing that, but it's a slightly overplayed thing for the plus size model to do. And I like doing all the kind of the weird characters and doing, like, silly fun things and getting muddy and looking...
Well, the one in the moss, in the mud, I mean, that was taken from above.
Oh, with the drone, yeah.
That was an amazing picture.
Yeah, and it's that bit of using your body for sort of fine art rather than kind of just posing in seamed stockings, which is lovely, and everyone enjoys that, and like that bit of vanity everyone has, where they want that very glossy, sort of very nicely edited, everyone wants them, but that's not necessarily the sort of the creative work, or it's not even work, is it, like the creative hobby that keeps you coming back to it and kind of sustains your mind.
That's a really cool take on it.
Yeah, I think, like, and as well, you just get to meet really nice people. Like, most photographers whose hobby is photographing naked women aren't lunatics, because they'd very quickly get weeded out. And
yes.
There's much cheaper and easier ways to get women to take their clothes off than to become a photographer. Like, it's very expensive, and the process of lighting and getting the right shots and stuff is about as erotic as, like, a cup of tea. There's not... if you're in it because you think it's going to be, like, titillating in some way, you're really in for a rude awakening. Because it just is not.
So apart from the modelling, which takes up a nice amount of your time, what else are you doing at the moment?
So another thing that we wanted to touch on today is, because I think we're talking about this kind of feeling the fear and doing it anyway, or kind of just getting on with it. So I've changed career, or left a career perhaps, slightly unexpectedly. So I am a copywriter in my kind of day job, profession job, and I'd always balanced that with having a wine shop kind of somewhat successfully. And then I thought, oh, do you know what, I need to really kind of knuckle down and have this career and do the same thing 5 days a week and sit in front of a computer. And I tried it for 3 months, and it was the wrong thing to do. And so I did something kind of objectively insane and left a lovely, well-paid, employed job with nice people where I could do the work without anything to go to just go back to my shop with my dad some days of the week and try and work out what it was that I wanted to fill my time with that made money and didn't make me want to throw myself out the window. Because people always say, oh, life's too short and, you know, you've got to put your mental health before anything else, blah, blah, blah. But you've also got to pay the bills. And it's an incredibly, like, privileged position to be in, you know, to have, like, a supportive family and partner and, again, to have been in that kind of well-paid career, to be able to say, well, I'm just going to sit back and wait and see what, you know, the universe or divine providence or whatever you want to call it throws at me next, and see what direction I go in, and kind of just, like, take your foot off the gas a bit and kind of trust that something is going to happen. It's very scary. It's very, very scary. And it's, I wouldn't recommend it if you've got, like, if you've got proper responsibilities. Obviously, you can't just chuck your job in and say, I'm going to wait and see what happens. But at the same time, like, wonderful things are already happening. You've almost got to just have that little bit of faith that you're not going to just fall out of the sky and everything's going to go wrong, and that opportunities will come up and things will unfold and reveal themselves to you in a way which will work out not doing the same thing 5 days a week, and not feeling that your life is meaningless, and not feeling that what you're doing doesn't matter, because that's what will really sort of get you down, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And I suppose, like, for the two of you, it was maybe the same turning point where you thought, can we make something out of Bell Street? Can we charge people for that? Oh, we can't charge people for this. Well, now we can't monetize this. We can't, you know, nobody wants to hear us. Well, turns out they do.
Apparently.
Yeah, with the Bell Street thing, like, we were both in very different positions in what we could do, but there definitely was a point where we decided whether we were gonna, like, really give it the space to become something that we could rely on financially.
Yeah.
Which, and we're not quite there yet, but we're working on it, and it seems to be the right thing. Well, it is a risk, and people do frown at it. I did hear something say the other day, so it's more of a risk to not do it, because you're risking never having done it when you look back.
It's different types of risk, isn't it?
Yeah.
That you have to balance that, you know, bills don't pay themselves, you know, having a pension is nice, you know, not thinking, am I going to pay the rent this month? You know, that, like, level of responsibility and risk. And I'm naturally, like, believe it or not, I'm very kind of risk averse. Like, I'm the kind of person who's never had an overdraft, and, you know, that sort of, like, I'm such a rule follower. So yeah, there's always a thing about balancing risk and reward, and I think as well sometimes where you don't see, like, instant reward from something you're doing, which is probably something, like, both of you relate to, where you think, oh, I've made the wrong decision, you know. I think, like, it's always useful to remember that very, very few decisions are so permanent you can't ever change them, though, as well. You know, for the two of you thinking, okay, this is going to be our job now. Well, it doesn't mean all other jobs have just closed. Like,
Yes.
it doesn't mean you've committed to it forever. Like, there's very, very, very few commitments that you can't change your mind on. And that sort of realisation that you can go through life changing your mind. Like, you can try things. There isn't an obligation to stick with something. You can try stuff, and things can be right at the time, and then they can change, or, you know, you can keep working it out.
And trusting. You learn to trust what might be right in that moment, or maybe not, and where your energy is going to go with it as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm still kind of learning to do that, and you know, it's not even like trusting your instincts necessarily. It's sort of just not trying to control everything all the time. Like, humans are naturally quite control freaks, but then we also have this weird thing that we want other people to make the decisions. We don't want to do hard decisions. We don't want to do hard stuff. But at the same time, like, being out of control scares us, like, freaks us out. So we've always got this sort of battle of, I want to know what's coming up ahead. I want to know what path I'm taking. You know, I want to see the map for this. But also, like, please can an adult take over? And sometimes that, like, being the adult is not knowing the road ahead and being like, that actually, that's fine. That's fine. I can just see what happens. and not think too far ahead and not, not be completely reckless, not think, oh, how am I going to feed my children? Who knows? I'm not kind of recommending that.
Well, we're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, gruel for tea again, kids.
I'm just wondering if they're linked. So what came first, delving into being a model or changing what you were doing? And I was wondering if one influenced the other in terms of risk or recklessness or whatever you want to call it.
Yes, I think one did influence the other. So I think the timing of becoming involved in the calendar and that leading in an unexpected direction was quite fortuitous. That took place at the end of April, and my old company, which I'd loved and worked for, which fitted really well around the shop and I'd kind of grown a lot with, very unexpectedly got made redundant again, very, very unexpectedly in June. And I had, various other sort of unexpected upheavals in my life, lost a friend who I was very close to around that time. And there was a great shift in the universe. A lot of unexpected things happen. And so I was, I suppose, more open to the idea of risk taking. The time actually was over summer to try and work this out, but I slightly got the timing wrong and started this new job and quickly realised that no, that wasn't actually the direction. But I kind of do credit myself with, being quite brave to head it off and say, no, this isn't for me. Yeah. So not directly. I didn't wake up in the morning and think I am now a supermodel, because that would be insane. But yes, the idea of bravery is it's like dominoes going. Once you start being brave, you get quite addicted to it and you learn that nothing terrible happens, or if something terrible does happen, it's still not the end of the world. And so that risk-reward balance, you start seeing risks as a good thing, or you start seeing doing different stuff as interesting. You start thinking, what can I change? What if I do this? What if I do that? Within that sort of box of what is safe and what is a good idea and what is not going to be, life ruining. Like, I'm not saying go home and dump your husband and buy a camper van, but if that's what you need to do,
Bell Street accept no responsibility for the consequences of taking Alice's advice.
Bell Street do not recommend dumping your husband.
Well, do we? Maybe we do. We don't know.
Bell Street recommend solid financial advice. They do not constitute
seeking a GP.
Seeking professional advice before making any large life decisions.
You did say something really cool there. You said bravery, as you say, bravery is addictive.
Bravery is addictive. It's a domino effect.
Yeah. But we've definitely seen, we get braver and braver because we do something that we think is a bit stupid. We haven't really fallen flat on our faces yet. And even if we have, the process that got us to falling flat on our face has actually been quite useful.
Yeah.
So you're right. And that's really cool.
I was talking about this last night, and it was in the context of learning languages, because I'm trying to learn Italian, but very slowly and badly. But I said that ability to be confidently wrong is actually a really great ability. Yeah. That ability to say a word so confidently, get it completely wrong, but actually the world doesn't end. No. And that's true of loads and loads of things. That if you... the vast majority of confidence is just giving stuff a go.
We do it in gigs all the time. We give it a go. Hope maybe the right words come out with confidence.
But I trained as an actor when I was a kid and a teenager. Another thing that really stuck with me, again, is that if you cock your lines up, nobody will know if you just say it really confidently. Yeah. And this is from a kind of Shakespearean actor who said they'd once got the to be or not to be soliloquy in completely the wrong order, but nobody noticed because they just carried on with such conviction. No one actually really knows what the words are.
Susan is the queen of rewriting a verse. So, I am a nightmare. If I forget a word, I will blah, blah, blah it. Less so now, but definitely I've done that in the past. Blah, 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 blah. because I haven't been able to think, but Susan once, I can't remember what song it was, but I've told this story before, but not on the podcast.
Natural Woman.
It was Natural Woman.
It's stuck in Susan's mind.
Yeah.
Still struggle with.
She obviously forgot the lyrics and then just made up a complete verse that rhymed. And
Wow.
so I just stood next to Susan going,
Wow.
Definitely had the same sort of context,
yeah.
Well, there's something in
Tell you
that
what it
about
was now.
when you're put on the spot, you do really great work.
Yeah.
Like genuinely, like you need to be under that pressure, and then you're amazed at what your brain can do. And Susan's brain writes Karen Carpenter lyrics.
Rounding up, what have you learned about yourself, do you think, in this kind of season of change that you've, and being brave and finding out that bravery is addictive? What have you learned about you that you didn't necessarily know a couple of years ago?
That's a very good question. That good things happen when you get out of your comfort zone, which sounds a bit of a cliche, but that you can't kind of sit on the edge of the swimming pool in your bikini forever. You'll get chilly. You've got to ultimately make a move to do something. And what happens isn't always, big life changes. I'm still the same person. It's not a story of bravery made me do this thing. Bravery made me, I don't know, move country and fall in love with a 20-year-old. Or it's not always a big shift. It's a series of little shifts. And then you can start seeing yourself perhaps as others see you. Being asked to do this. Oh, you've done something brave. I that surprised me, to be honest. You learn about how other people see you, and you think, oh, well, actually, that's probably more true than that inner critic, tiny worm voice that everybody has that says, you're a joke person and you're rubbish at everything. That's probably not very true, and you start disproving it, and disproving it keeps happening. And there is fun to be found in unusual places. You might get something out of it, and if you don't, well, who dies? It doesn't matter. It's all just fun. Life is basically just a series of events that you can enjoy, or you can change what you don't enjoy, and none of it, unless you are literally a brain surgeon or a, firefighter or, something like that, largely what any of us do doesn't really matter that much on the wider scale. And that's kind of quite freeing. It's weird to say, when you're brave, people don't notice in the way you think they might. Or people might, she's got this new hobby that she takes her clothes off and people take photos of it. People either think that's cool or they don't care. Largely, people don't really care when you do stuff that you think is slightly mad. And if they do care, they think it's fun and interesting. And if they're negative about it, mainly they don't tell you. If they do tell you, it doesn't matter.
Talking to us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me just ramble nonsense for ages.
Well, we've gained a lot of wisdom
Yeah.
today, I think.
I'm like the Church of Alice. I'm joining it.
Come back next week for another sermon on how your life doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Nothing you do matters.
Nothing you do
Take your clothes
matters. Get your kit off.
It was really inspiring to talk to someone who just is such a breath of fresh air in terms of mindset.
And as you can tell, we laughed a lot.
We laughed a lot.
So as we sign off today, just a little bit of advice, maybe from Alice.
Yeah.
You know.
If you're sat on the edge of the pool in your bikini, don't get cold.
No, don't get chilly.
Just
Do it anyway.